Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to study English literature for competitive examinations. As we all know, these are times of transition. Everything has changed because of the pandemic and lockdown. At this time, education has changed into the online mode, and probably many of you are panicking. How to study, how to prepare for exams, what will be the future like, how to get a job. We are all wondering about these issues, trying to tackle them. Luckily, as we have probably realized by now, online education is giving us a lot of new opportunities. Online education could be even better than the offline modes of education that we had before. It's a time of hope. It is possible that our future would be tremendous. But we need new strategies to tackle the period of online education, because online education is about self-learning, not only teaching. We need to devise new methods of learning on our own without expecting everything from the classroom or the textbook or the teacher. Self-learning is more research-oriented. It is about how to get the right kind of information, how to use the internet, how to plan your time, how to research and revise. So I have been exploring these strategies along with a lot of students, and I'm going to share some of these with you. As you know, the first thing that we need to start studying on our own is a syllabus and also probably a timetable. When you think of competitive exams, many times you don't have a syllabus. You will have to make your own syllabus from previous question papers. And the first important thing then that you should do is decide on a list of competitive exams that you're going to write. Collect the previous year's question papers. Look for any changes in pattern or style in the recent years. Analyze these papers and devise your own syllabus. When it comes to English literature, as you know, it is not only about the literature of the UK or the US. English literature is almost like world literature. You have to study literatures of the post-colonial countries in translation, of course. You have to study Indian literature primarily in English. You also have to study criticism, literary theory, these days cultural studies, and also linguistics. Many times you might have to study current affairs. For some exams conducted by the Public Service Commission, you will have to study the Indian Constitution or Kerala history, and so on and so forth. So sometimes even mathematics. So you have to make a list of all these topics. Look at what are the subtopics. What are the major texts, concepts, authors, movements, periods, and so on. It will take a little time. In the beginning, it won't be easy to make this syllabus, but the more you look at the question papers, the more you connect with other people who are writing the exam, the more you take the help of teachers, the more perfect your syllabus will become. It will be a constantly expanding syllabus. As you study more, as you get more experience of the question papers and the exam, you will want to add more and more. So in this age, none of us would take a paper and pencil and write all this down. It is better you do this in the computer. You can make an MS Word document or a PowerPoint presentation for yourself and continuously add new details as you study, covering all the major periods, all the major literatures, all the major authors and works. It will be amazing if you do this on a PowerPoint presentation, because you can slowly add details, you can add summaries and analyses, and by the time you finish preparation, this will become your own notes or even a book. So in a systematic manner, plan what you have to study. Based on this syllabus, you can devise a timetable. Realistically, look at the time that you have in front of you. Okay, suppose that you have 6 months before this competitive exam that you are writing. It can be NTA NET or any PSC exam. Plan the entire syllabus according to the time that you have. I have to finish this many portions in the first month, these many portions in the second month. Always give time for revision. And do not pack everything into a day or a week or a month, because you may have to, you may not stick to the timetable. You may have to give yourself some time, because the timetable may not work exactly like that. Constantly revise, constantly practice. That is also very important. When you talk about a period of English literature, let us take the Elizabethan period. It is very important that you have a macro view and a micro view. A macro view means an overview of the period. A macro view means understanding the context, understanding the history. Micro view is understanding the details of a text. You should have both. Look at the context, look at the historical movements that happened at that time. Depending on the exam, suppose you are writing the entrance of a central university for PhD after your MA or even after your BA. Then you will need a very analytical and a very research-oriented theoretical perspective. You might have to look at the social classes, the cultural processes of that period, how people lived, especially if you have to write descriptive answers. If you have to write descriptive answers in an exam, it will be very important for you to know the context, because a descriptive answer should be a perfect blending of the context and the details of the text. So you should have a macro view where you talk about this, where you know about the socio-political events of the time. What is the socio-political event that happened in the Elizabethan period? It is Renaissance. Along with Renaissance, there was humanism, there was Reformation. So what I mean is, when you write a descriptive answer about William Shakespeare or one of his plays. You will have to mention Renaissance, Reformation, Humanism. You will have to mention general trends in writing at that time. For example, the major genres. At a time, let me give you an example. At a time when lyricism flourished in the sonnets and Senecan influence was seen in the revenge tragedies, Shakespeare and his contemporaries also wrote romantic comedies. Dash, romantic, because they repudiated classical rules. Isn't that a good sentence? So in one sentence, in a descriptive answer, you will have to bring in many keywords pertaining to the context, show that you know genres, authors, other authors I mean, contexts, movements. Because in a descriptive answer, there will be space limit. You will not be able to write one sentence each for every single point. In a sentence, you'll have to pack many points at once. Now you're wondering, but I'm not writing descriptive answers. The exam that I'm preparing for is objective. Wait a minute. In objective type questions as well, in objective type, multiple choice type exams as well, you need to know the context for 2-3 reasons. One, they will ask you questions based on the context. There will be questions based on Renaissance or Humanism. Secondly, knowing the context will help you to understand texts, remember better, cross-connect better, guess better. In an objective type exam, in an MCQ type exam, every single answer that you write will not only be from solid knowledge, it will also be sometimes guesswork, intelligent guesses based on knowledge. You have to do that. So, knowing the context, knowing other authors will help you in the objective type exam as well. In the objective type exam, you can eliminate options if you know the other writers. No, Castiglione did not write literary works like that. It cannot be Philip Sidney. Like that you will be able to guess. Now the micro view. These days are amazing. Why so? Because of the internet. So much information is at our fingertips, isn't it? Whatever book that you need to know about, perhaps the book is there in Project Gutenberg or in so many other websites or in Amazon Kindle. You can read original primary works easily if you have an Amazon account. Do you have it? You should have it. Not because you need to do shopping, not only because of that, but because Kindle is a fabulous source of books. Many are free. Many are available at very affordable prices. You can build an online library in Kindle. All the classics, if you buy, there will be ready reference for you. Whenever you get 10 or 15 minutes in between, whenever you're waiting at a doctor's for your turn, whenever you're sitting in a bus or a train on a long journey, you can read a book on Kindle. I always tell students that if not entire books, at least read a chapter, read a few pages, read the opening. Because knowledge of the primary source is a tremendous source of knowledge. To know the style of the author will give you an understanding that this author will not write like that. This style is not of this author. In the exam, many questions you will automatically be able to answer if you know the style of an author. That is an amazing knowledge. You should have it. Every day before you go to bed, you can tell yourself, every single day, I will read for half an hour on Kindle. Do not read for long hours and spoil your eyes, but half an hour is okay. So start reading primary sources. That is the best way to know a book in detail. But the internet also provides you so many other ways of knowing a text. For example, you are using the internet and watching me speak about how to study English literature. There are so many YouTube channels that you can subscribe to, wonderful lectures you get to listen to there. Spend time, find out the best YouTube channels, the best speakers, the best teachers, follow them. Also, there are so many websites where you will get summaries and analyses of texts. Use them. But remember, the summary is not the text. You should definitely read summaries and analyses, but that should not be the end of your studies. It should be the beginning. From a summary or analysis, you should definitely go deeper into the text, read the text, know the text for yourself firsthand. That is very important. Along with knowing the text and the analysis, critical analysis, you should also know the biography of the author. Most of the time, the author's biography will help you understand the text better. You should also know the other works of the author. And you should think something should happen here. Cross-connect, wonder, analyze on your own. The more you read, the more you get acquainted with summaries and analyses, the better critics you'll become. You will start analyzing yourself. You should be able to think, if you are studying The Tempest, how is it different from Hamlet? How is it different from other plays like As You Like It? Or what are the relations between these texts? Ask yourself, why do I like this text? What is beautiful about this text? If possible, if you have time, write something about the text. Write online. You can write a Facebook post or you can start your own blog. You should. Write a short review of what you've read, because it will help you to record all your reading. It will also help you to become popular. People will start reading your blog. These days, without online presence, without sharing your reading and knowledge online in certain ways, you cannot be a complete scholar. So that is also essential. So read biographies of the authors, read summaries and analyses and other commentaries on the text. Read the text as much as possible. And also, don't forget, a summary alone is not enough. You should also, if possible, read character analyses. When you study Hamlet, for example, you need to read about the character of Hamlet, particularly not only the plot, but also the character. Then you should read the criticism. Shakespeare criticism, Hamlet criticism, Google search. You should know the reception of a text. An advanced study of a text involves its reception. Reception means what? How the text was received in its own time. How people talked about Hamlet in the 16th century. How they talked about it in the 17th century. How they talked about it in the 18th century. If you're preparing for the civil services, you should prepare. It is not only about passing the civil services, which I'm sure you can if you try. You should try. Writing the civil services exam is not only about becoming an IAS officer, which I'm sure many of you can. It is also about getting some of the other services. It is also about honing your skills as a scholar. Because the civil services exam requires you to have very good writing skills, creative as well as critical skills, analytical skills. If you are a BA student or an MA student, look at the civil services syllabus and start preparing for the civil services as well. I mean English literature as well as other subjects. It will be amazing. It will give you a boost in your career. Trust me. So what I'm saying is, prepare thoroughly and aim high. Aim high. Only when you aim high, only when you try to get something beyond your reach, will you realize that you can reach farther than you thought you can. Do not aim low, aim high. And study thoroughly biographies, details of texts, context, summaries, analyses, character development, character analysis, and then, very importantly, think of what theories can be applied on this text. From the purview of which theories can I read this text? That is very important, and that helps you do research. If you are a researcher already, do not just think about your topic. Whatever you read on, whatever author or text you come across, apply theory there and at least think about it. If possible, write about it. Because when you look at texts, they can be novels or plays or poetry, as well as movies and other kinds of cultural texts. When you look at text from the theoretical perspective, when you look at text from the research perspective, that is how your research acumen will develop. Because there are competitive exams where you need a research acumen as well. As I was telling you, when you write the entrance exam of a central university to get into a PhD program, for example, then you need a research acumen. They will ask you to write a synopsis. Many researchers, when they start doing research, go around telling other people, asking other people, give me a topic please, tell me how to write a synopsis. Actually, getting a topic and writing a synopsis has to come primarily from your reading, your thinking, your research. Start now. Start thinking of theoretical approaches. Start reading on theories. And very importantly, read what other people have written. Reading research articles, reading dissertations, attending to open defenses. These are very important because it helps you understand how people have applied theories on texts. And when you study a text in this manner. Remember to memorize some important lines. Because when you speak, when you teach, when you write a research paper, when you attend an interview, it would be wonderful if you can quote a few lines. Remembering important passages or lines from a novel or play or poem can immensely help you in an academic career. So in this manner, you should have a macro view and a micro view. I was talking about literature. Similarly, for linguistics, literary criticism, literary theory, cultural studies, know the various movements, authors, their biographies, their works. As I told you at the beginning, it would be great if you do this in a Microsoft Word document or a PowerPoint document and continuously build it up so that it becomes your own unique material that you can use later to teach. What I was saying is that when you study, you should have breadth as well as depth. Did you understand? You should know vastly. You should know authors, works, all the major developments of an age. You should also go deep. Macro view and micro view. You should go deeper and deeper as you progress in your career. You start with knowing a few major texts in detail, and then you go deeper and deeper and get to know more major texts, even the minor texts of the major authors. It is not impossible. It only requires planning and management. Now, another problem that students and scholars face is the proliferation of information around us. There are so many books, so many websites, so many resources. People ask me, what book should I read? Please understand that there is no single book that will give you everything. Obviously, you have to read many books. Every book could be important, but use your own discretion to understand which are the books that should be read in detail, which are the books that can be read in a cursory manner. Like Francis Bacon said, some books are to be swallowed and chewed and digested. Some books are to be just swallowed. Some books are to be just read in a cursory manner. Some books are to be chewed and digested. Some books are to be read by deputy. That means you don't have to read them, read only a summary. So use your discretion, categorize available resources accordingly. Very importantly, not only read but reread. Watch very good videos several times. Very importantly, make notes. Read extra. Whatever information you get online from one source, don't just stick to that source, read extra about it. Make your own notes and study your own notes. After you prepare movements and authors and texts in this manner, you need to know how the questions will be based on, how the questions will be asked. Questions will be based on themes of novels or plays or poems. Which of the following works is based on this theme? That kind of questions. It can be based on characters or settings. You should know even the plays where books are set, because the plays will have a deep relationship with the development of the character or the plot. You should know the important symbols and motifs, leitmotifs or recurring themes or characters in the novels, symbols. You should know important excerpts, opening lines, closing lines, important quotations from books. You should know about the author's life or period, because there will be questions based on that. You should know about the publisher sometimes. When the book was published, who published it, whether it was banned in which year, what awards it won, and also critical perspectives on authors and works. Based on all this, you will get objective type questions as well as descriptive type questions. Now, another challenge when you have studied so much, another challenge that you'll have is how to remember all this information. It's not easy. Always remember that the more you know about a text, the better you'll remember it. If you try to memorize isolated pieces of information, it may not be easy to remember. Read more, that will help you remember. Also, the context in which you study, the time at which you study, the cross connections that you make, all this could be important. Perhaps you will remember the different colors that you used to write down points. A very difficult theory or a difficult piece of information, study in a different context. Instead of sitting in your study room, go and sit in the garden, for example. You will probably remember it or understand it with a change of the context. Relate it to things that you already know. Think of everyday examples. Sometimes you can make codes using the keywords. You can make mind maps. Be creative. That will also help you remember. To remember information, it is extremely important that you should revise the information. Any human being will be prone to forgetfulness. The more you revise, reread, not the same day, I mean after a few days, after a week. When you revise, that will help you remember. So, don't just read and study. Make sure you remember it. Even if there is no competitive exam coming up, still make it a practice to reread things that you know already, to read extra, to read again. Make your own notes. A wonderful way to revise and keep yourself updated is to teach. You can teach people either in a WhatsApp group or in a Facebook group. There are always people who are in need of you and your teaching. Use it. Make audio notes. Make videos. You can start a YouTube channel, your own YouTube channel, where you talk about books. It will give you motivation, self-motivation to study more, to revise more, to prepare yourself for exams. As you prepare for a competitive exam, also train some people for the same exam, if possible. Form a study group and do it. It's very easy these days. So be creative. Use these techniques. And study English literature in a thorough manner so that you will ace the exam. You will become the topper. In a competitive exam, do not just aim to pass. Always in a competitive exam, aim to be the topper. Who knows, you will be the topper. And also, it is when you aim high that you realize you can do better than you think you can than you thought. Knowledge is endless. Do not panic. Do not think it is impossible for me to cover everything, to study everything. No. You don't have to. Plan in this manner. Keep on working towards your goal. Realize that every day is giving you a better opportunity for a better career. The more you learn, the easier and better it becomes. Persistently study for competitive exams, clear them one by one. Follow these tips, devise your own methods, and I'm sure you will all have amazing careers. Wish you all the best.